Hey guys, we have this iPhone 8 here that's not charging or turning on. Now I'll switch over to the overhead cam. Plug in a test screen. And DC power. Alright, so prompting to boot, we're pulling 0. Nothing's happening. So that tells us that nothing's working, not the CPU, not the power management chip. So let's switch over to the microscope view. Alright, first I'm going to check for 1.8 volts on the power button line. Black probe on ground here. So yeah, we have our 1.8 volts there, which is good. Now what I'm going to try doing is shorting that line and seeing if we get any kind of activity on the DC meter. And we do. We have a normal boot sequence. So the phone is actually booting now. So it looks like we have a problem with the charge port area. Because it's not drawing any power and it's not prompting the device to boot. So we're going to focus in on the Charge Port FPC connector and find out what the problem is. Switch to the overhead cam. We're going to use iBridge. And an iPhone 8 battery. Alright, now that those are both connected, we're going to use the iBridge to diagnose exactly what's going on with the Charge Port FPC connector. Switch back to the scope view. Plug in power to the charge port. And check some voltages. So black probe on ground. Supposed to get 3 volts here. 0 volts. Okay. Supposed to get. Oh. We're getting our 5 volts, which is good. 5 volts. 5 volts, good. So it looks like our problem is here. We're getting 3 volts. Unplug power, switch to diode mode. Just going to quickly check that line in diode mode. We're supposed to get around 378, it says right there. Oops. Oh, sorry, still have our battery connected. You can't have any power going through the device when using diode mode. So we get a perfect reading on diode mode. So pin 1, let's open ZXW. So here we're supposed to be getting 3 volts, we're getting 0 volts. So it passes through this filter, and the filter goes 2 places. So TriStar. Okay, we're gonna take a look at the TriStar area. That chip looks fine. This is just visual inspection. This board actually looks very healthy. I'm gonna go ahead and replace TriStar, because I have a feeling that that will solve our issue. Just gonna uniformly heat the board and then focus heat directly onto the TriStar IC chip. I'm going to hold it with our tweezers, just kind of lift the board, and it'll separate once the solder reaches melting temperature. What we did there, we just applied some low melt solder just to make it easier to clean. Just using copper wick with heat to clean the bonding pads. So we have our new TriStar IC chip. Check the schematics. A1 is in the top left, so make sure we orientate the chip correctly. A small amount of flux. Have my fine tip X-Acto blade ready to give the chip a light nudge once it's floated in, and watch it move back into place, and then we know that the chip is installed successfully onto the board. I just have our metal block here that we'll put the board on it so that the board cools quickly. Alright, we're gonna bring back our eye bridge. Connect our battery. Oh, now we have 3 volts. Okay, so we have 3 volts now. Okay, I'll switch to the overhead cam view. Okay, so the device is fully booted, but it's not charging at all. Why is that? It's fake charging. It thinks it's charging, but it's not drawing anything. I wonder if we need to change the Tigris IC chip here. So after looking into it, looks like we're just gonna, I've already pulled the Tigris charging IC. Alright, we have the Tigris chip installed. Grab our block. Let's let this board cool down before testing. So now we're actually drawing power on our charger. Switch to the overhead cam view. So you can see we're drawing 1.4 amps, which is very good. Disconnect. Plug in our test screen. So the device is booting. We have our Apple logo. We're drawing 1.2 amps on our charging, which is good. Throw the board into the original housing. Alright, give that a second. Apple logo, 1.7 amps, it's perfect. I'm just going to give it a moment to boot up. Perfect, so this phone has booted up fully and is charging 1.7 amps, charging. Awesome. So as a recap, this phone came in completely dead. It wasn't charging or turning on at all. We were able to turn it on by shorting the power connector on the power button flex, so we or power button FPC connector. So we knew it was a problem with the charge port area and how the charging circuit worked, because the phone was not prompting to boot when plugging it into power, which it's supposed to. So using the iBridge, which is a very useful tool, this guy here, we were able to identify that we were missing 3 volts on pin 1, which led us to the TriStar charge IC, which changed that, and then we were getting the 3 volts and the device was prompting to boot, but it still wasn't charging normally. It was fake charging. It looked like it was charging, but it wasn't pulling anything. So We then narrowed that down to being an issue with Tigris Charge IC, and changing Tigris has solved that issue. So now this phone is fully functional and we can get it assembled and back to the customer. Thanks for watching.